discussion area which I think has emerged across the various viewpoints is the government stimulus, the government support, and I think whether it's ease of doing business or government stimulus, overall, much has been done in particularly during the period of lockdown, and much is expected further. And I take this opportunity of inviting Mr. Bhaskar from Pharmexil, Director General Pharmexil, to share his views on the PLI scheme and the bulk drug parks, API parks, scheme. And there have been various nuances in the scheme. I'll request my team to put up the background slide on the government PLI data. Meanwhile, I think the scheme is for more than $900 million for API with allocation between APIs and bulk drugs. And there has been various conditionality. I will not touch upon and go much in detail, but a couple of them for the benefit of all the participants. That the scheme is basically applicable to 41 critical APIs and KSM out of 53 which have been identified very critical from the point of view. However, this PLI scheme incentives will be applicable only for domestic consumption and require backward integration in terms of domestic value add of 70% for chemical synthesis products and 90% for fermentation based products. So it means that this scheme is not applicable for exports. It means that it is applicable only for the greenfield projects or the newer investments to be made in the existing facilities. There are various manufacturing facilities which are shut. If they are revived, whether they will be applicable or available to eligible to get the benefit. There are only 2 players per fermentation or 4 per chemical synthesis who will be covered in the scheme. So one has to get really into details, and Mr. Bhaskar, if you can throw your perspective in terms of how adequate, how beneficial the scheme is, and happy to hear your views on that. Yeah. Mr. Bhaskar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lunawat, and other esteemed panelists. And I'm very happy to be here. But as a DG Pharmexil, I'm neither seriously an industrialist nor representing the government. So I have to balance both the industry as well as the government, particularly in this policy. So I'll go back to the background of this issue of PLI scheme. The Ministry of Commerce conducted a study, and the Pharmexil submitted a report to the Commerce Ministry on how to reduce the dependence. More or less the products and the categories what are included in the PLI scheme is basing on the report submitted by the Commerce Ministry to DOP and other agencies. My point is that this Government of India is planned put a target of $100 billion pharma market by 2025. So it's a positive beginning, and it's a positive step in trying to reduce the dependence. But at the same time, if you examine or if you see the set target, incentives are a kind of a funding is allocated, that is 9,640 crores for the coming 8 years. I don't think it's not adequate, but at the same time, the Controls Committee has submitted its report in 2015. It took almost more than 5 years for the Government of India to come up with the policy. But it's a welcome decision, and the government is very serious about it, and they realize that there is a crying need. But my point is that, as you have rightly mentioned about the scheme is extended only to the domestic market. If you see the Indian pharmaceutical market, it is almost 43 billion. Out of that, where last financial year we exported, Dinesh ji has rightly mentioned, more than 20.6 billion US dollars. So almost 50% were exporting, and the companies who are exporting are also sourcing APIs and dependent on China. If this scheme is not going to applicable to some of the exporters who are 100% exporting APIs, the EOE units and SEZ. So that is going to be a very big question mark, and how it is going to help as far as exports are concerned. So government may be thinking that, we are dependent on China, particularly on the essential medicines list of India. The essential medicines list differ from country to country, and WHO list says something. So that may be the idea of the government, but what I feel as a DG Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India, that should also be extended to the exporters. That is one thing. So we are always discussing everything around China. I think the elite panelists who are there, as well as the attendees, as you have mentioned in your opening remarks, that they are very strong in their areas, and the people who are present also have a very strong knowledge about it. So Chinese, if you see their chemical industry is 1.72 trillion USD. So then, and their intermediate industry as well as API industry, I don't think everybody is talking very emotionally that, from the past 4 or 5 months. So entire world is looking after India, and the entire world wanted to shift from China. But as far as my observations are concerned, I think things will not move in such a faster way. We have to depend on somebody who have that expertise, and at the same time, this scheme, particularly the APIs, particularly financial year 21, our exports of formulations are growing, and our exports of APIs are decreasing actually. So this is one of the reason, and even though we are recording a positive growth, still our dependency is not at all reduced or addressed. So it will continue to grow, but we started working in a positive direction. But the kind of investment and the clusters, I'll tell you few things. Some of the states which are landlocked, but they are coming up with the bulk drug parks. That's a big question is to be debated. So how they are going to cope up. So if you wanted to treat the effluents and zero discharge, and it needs a lot of money, at the same time, the chemistry is also very important. So how much it costs, particularly in establishing that, the kind of an incentive the government is offering to the cluster is very minimal when compared to the money supposed to be pumped in the clusters by the manufacturers. These, at the same time, the Duvaji and Sudarshan has rightly mentioned that price mechanism. Even if I give 10,000 crores for a cluster, if I manufacture these products, tomorrow if I'm selling it a product of $10, the China they'll sell it for $5, and all the Indian companies will go and purchase from China. So price mechanism and the dynamics of market is also seriously addressed, and you should be more shrewd enough to handle the post PLI scheme also. I pause here and.